Hey, friends. Followers of Jesus need to be slow to jump to offense. That's going to be our thought, our encouragement, devotional idea for a story that we've been in for a couple of videos. We're going to be in Mark 2. You should read 1 to 12. We're going to read 5 to 8, and then we're going to talk about this idea of being slow to jump to offense. Here's what it says. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Right? That was the last video. We said this is a really weird statement that Jesus makes. This guy's sins are forgiven because of those guys' faith. Right? That's not what I was taught. Probably not what you was taught, but that's the last video. Now, some teachers of the law were sitting there thinking to themselves, why does this fellow talk like that? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Immediately, Jesus knew in his spirit that this is what they were thinking in their hearts. And he said to them, why are you thinking these things? Or in other words, why are you jumping to offense? See, Jesus had been getting some hate, and it's going to grow throughout his whole life. You'll see that if you keep, stick with us. But it's almost like these guys showed up to look for Jesus to misspeak. And as soon as they thought that he did, right, they jumped straight to, he's blaspheming, right? Which is what well-meaning church people do today whenever something out of the ordinary happens, right? We personally let our kids play sports on the weekends. And I know that that's not common, especially for a pastor. But I guess my thinking was showing up at church in an air conditioned, well painted room, listening to music and hearing. I don't think that's what Jesus had in mind when he was dying on the cross. Right? As we've said before in these videos that Jesus didn't die for us to park our bottoms in the pews. Right? Again, in his most famous parable, right? We've said all this stuff. In his most famous parable, one arguably, that he was praising the guy that skipped the religious activities to go love on somebody. See, there's something in us to where when we don't understand why somebody else is doing something, we want to be offended by it. And the irony of this picture is none of these people were rushing to help the guy. Right? They were all focused on listening to what Jesus was saying. Right? Some probably had good motives. These guys were looking for Jesus to slip up. And so the picture is that all these people were facing the guy talking about God. It sounds like church. And they had their back to the man that actually needed help, which unfortunately also sounds like church, because we're so willing to show up and listen to the guy talk about Jesus, but we're not so willing to walk across the street and check on the guy over there. And it's unfortunate. And when one of our community does leave to go, help the person, we want to be all over them, because showing up on Sundays has become the mark of the faithful. And I just don't think that's what Jesus ever had in mind. Is it important? 100%. I believe in the church. I believe in the mission of the church. But the mission of the church is never supposed to be for the people sitting in the room. Once they get into the room, they're supposed to be taught and trained and then turned around and sent back out into the world. But there's something that's happened throughout the years as to where we just want to collect people. And so followers of Jesus, when there's somebody that's trying to do good, we need to encourage that, not be offended by things that we don't understand. Right? Jesus never once set foot inside of a church building. I mean, that's pretty telling right there. He went to the synagogue, right? That's kind of, but for too long, followers of Jesus, we've tried to avoid the world. And we've become very offended by it. But I think it was the Apostle Paul who said that we're supposed to judge each other and not what they're doing out there, because they didn't sign up to live like the way that we did. We're supposed to encourage each other towards love and good deeds, and then go out there and tell them the good news about Jesus. Instead of jumping to offense when something's happening that we don't understand or by people that don't follow Jesus, let's be people who encourage each other and then be quick to tell them about the good thing that we have. I hope this helps. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.